It's time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets, either at the Sportsbook in Lincoln or Omaha. You look like you're about to say Uruguay. It is the best place to go. Let's keep your money on the right side of the river. Warhorse Sportsbook, no bets, no glory. You can place your bets on nearly every major sporting event. DB,
what do you want?
This is gonna shock you. What my bet on it is for the day.
Oh, Lord.
My bet on it.
Okay.
This is not a tangible thing, so I'm definitely going to win.
Weird. Giving yourself a little waggle.
You know I like to wiggle. I guarantee, I bet on it, the Nebraska fan base cannot handle 10 wins in year 2. Cannot handle it. We are emotionally prepared. Because listen, we talk about this all the time, right? Being able to handle success is a real thing.
It is.
We talk about it with players. We talk about it with coaches. We don't often talk about it with a fan base. It's been a long time since Nebraskans have had to deal with success. I don't think we're ready. I don't think we're prepared. And to be fair, part of it is a team thing for me too. I think there's going to be more teachable lessons out of an 8-win season than there is a 10-win season.
Yeah.
I think if you, especially as you've got a bunch of 6-year guys that are going to be moving on, that have been through the struggle, and you replace them with a bunch of young guys that haven't struggled nearly as much, I think you're in a position where that could lead guys to think like, oh, maybe my stuff don't stink. You know, now, if anybody can handle that, it's Coach Rule. I have all the confidence in the world. But the fan base is loud here sometimes. Things seep into impressionable ears. Nebraska fans cannot handle a 10-win season in year 2.
You're betting. That's your bet of the day.
That's my bet on it today.
Well, it would be really, really cool if we could put that to the test.
I would love to be wrong.
Yeah. I just want to win 10 once.
Yes. Like, I would love to be wrong. But
I'd like to win 8, Ravi.
I would love to win 8. Some would say that's the perfect number. Maybe 9. I could do 9.
Speaking of numbers.
Yeah, I like numbers.
Would you take 90% guaranteed rate?
On what?
An outcome. Would you wager on something that has happened 90% of the time?
Depends what my odds are, but yeah.
Okay, 90%.
No, but I mean like my payout odds.
Oh, gotcha. So 19 of the last 21 years.
Yes.
That means it's happened 90% of the time.
Yeah, that's a lot.
There is a team in the NFL that has gone from worst to first.
I see where you're going here.
I'd bet on it.
You're going to bet on a team going worst to first?
That a team will not.
Oh, you're zagging.
I'm going to go against the grain. So would you like to know the candidates? And I already know who you think could pee in my Wheaties.
Patriots, Bengals, Titans.
Correct.
Chargers.
Correct.
Commanders.
Yes.
Bears.
Yes.
Panthers.
Yes.
Cardinals.
We know it's not going to be the Panthers.
There's literally only 2 teams that I think could do it.
You're going to tell me those 2 teams are the Chicago Bears?
Mm-mm.
Ooh, really?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So I know the easy one. That's the Bengals.
Yep.
All right. Who's team 2?
Chargers.
Not a chance.
There's a world, and listen, I mean, Kansas City was only 11-6 last year.
I understand, but you do realize Herbert will be on full display because he arguably has the worst wide receiving core in terms of productivity of any quarterback in the NFL.
In terms of productivity, yes.
I don't know that it's a bad room. The worst wide receiving room in the NFL in terms of productivity.
Correct.
Like, that's a real thing.
It is a real thing. I think if Herbert is the guy that we tend to think he is.
Now, Cincinnati will make the most sense.
So is Harbaugh. Then Chargers
He's going to have to run the air out of that thing.
Yeah. And he wants to anyway.
Cincinnati would make the most sense, right? Because they had 9 wins. I mean, they're over 500. They're 9.
They're 9 wins. You get Burrow back.
Yeah.
You know, we heard Brent talk about.
A lot of good teams in that division, though.
There are. That's the hardest. Whereas you look at the AFC West.
I thought you would maybe make a case for
the Bears.
Yep.
I could see it. I could.
Right? Because Minnesota's a little wounded. We think Green Bay's on the come.
But I don't really know.
Bears have a really good roster.
Yeah, they do. Bears have a really
now they would have to jump the Lions.
Who also have a really good roster.
But here's the thing, though, and maybe this is just me.
Mm-hmm.
Does it seem like the Lions are getting run?
Not really.
because
They're as good as they were last year.
I asked my man Jay. I asked Johnny, and he's a Lions fan.
Mhm.
And he's like, "Trust me, as a Lions fan, I'm hearing a lot more about the Packers." Because remember, I was like,
Yeah.
So
I think we talked to Cynthia
maybe
about
I
this
can't.
too.
Maybe I can't call the Packers a dark horse, right? Because I think the Packers are going to be really good.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people think the Packers are going to be good.
Okay. I don't think maybe it's because Campbell is silly or whatever, but they were stomping a mud hole in the Niners for a while.
Yeah, they were. The 49ers had to do some work to come back to get that one.
Yeah, that was the great Brock Purdy. Just
People
kidding.
forget.
Yeah, that was a nice first half he had, but he rallied.
He did. That's what matters.
Yeah, I know. And believe me, there's zero tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Like I know what it's like. Sometimes you just have to find a way.
Yeah.
And so I'm
and that's
cool with
probably
it.
the best thing about Brock Purdy is he finds a way.
But I'm gonna go outside of the 19 out of 21, which is a great trend. If that was anything else,
Yeah, you're in.
I'd give me a piece of that.
Yeah.
I do not.
There's not a lot of candidates.
I do not think there will be a first or a worst
to first. You're betting on that?
Yes.
That's interesting. I do think the Bengals are your most likely candidate, and
but they have the most teams to jump.
They do.
The most quality teams to
jump. They do, which makes it more challenging. But if Brent's right and the Ravens are your regression team, that helps. And when we've seen a healthy Burrow, he's been really good.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
I have him second in the league.
He's sensational.
Like I will take him over everybody except for Patrick Mahomes.
And
when
you and
healthy.
I are on the same page.
Can I give you a 19 out of 21?
Yeah.
Traditionally, Packers 19 out of 21 years are usually the best in that division.
They have owned the division.
They've owned that forever.
They have. And I don't know if it's the Lions thing. It's just because they're the Lions. I think that might be part of it.
I don't know if we take Campbell seriously, but that roster is spectacular.
Really, really good roster. I think very highly of Jared Goff.
I think, and it's weird, isn't it? Because that's the same Jared Goff that had reached his ceiling with the Rams, and we were like, go.
Apparently, he had not reached his ceiling.
It's just like
it's also weird.
You like Goff to get them to a Super Bowl potentially. You said yes, but not Hurts. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I do.
Because one guy's actually played in one and lost, and the other guy's actually played in one and lost.
Yeah,
and
it's an eyeball thing. I don't have a good reason.
Okay.
When I see it, I look at Goff and I think Goff's actually a really good example of what we were talking about earlier about kind of with Tua and the voice. Like you would think Sean McVay.
I did not respond well to Tua.
I didn't either.
I didn't.
But I also I'll give him credit for saying it.
Right. And maybe, like you said, coming off a hip injury and Flores the way that he is, maybe he just wasn't in a position to receive it.
Yeah. And I think both could be true at the same time, right? Like, could Flores have done better to meet him where he was at? Probably.
I just don't like when, and not everybody wants to have their say so, but I'd like to hear what the players say.
Yeah. The other players?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I think for Tua personally, obviously that wasn't the best situation. And part of that maybe is on Tua also, but that's really hard to tell. I will say, and we'll get to Jason here in just a second, I wonder if that's the case with Jared Goff, where you would think Sean McVay would be the perfect guy to reach your ceiling as a quarterback.
I'm big McVay guy. McVay guy.
If his voice and your personality don't mesh well, like maybe he needs a Dan Campbell. Maybe he needs a guy that's, because there's certain people where if you're constantly kind of like giving them pointers or critiquing, it just gets in their head and it like they don't perform well. Whereas Dan Campbell, if it's just like a motivator, encourager, like maybe that's what Jared Goff needed to reach his ceiling. Let's get to Jason. He wants to comment on my bet on it, the 8 wins versus 10. Jason, what's going on, bud? Jason, you there?
Oh, did we lose Jason? Jason, are you there, bud?
I think
there he is. Jason, what's up, buddy?
Not much.
All right, what do we got?
Hey, guys, just want to say huge fan.
Appreciate it.
First time calling. Usually I have to listen to recordings on Spotify. Today I'm lucky enough to listen to you live and actually get a call in.
Bless your heart.
Just calling in about the 10 or 8 wins this season. First off, on the fan base, we're going to overreact over anything and everything. So if we win 10 this year or 8 this year, we're going to overreact. I mean, we overreact.
That's legit. That's a good point.
Champ.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, just think how bad we'd be if we sucked at the off season. I mean, our fans would freak out. The world would end if we were terrible at the off season. So I don't worry about the fans. But if we won 10 games this year, And I would be fine with it just because I look at it as with NIL and conference realignment, I don't know how sustainable 10 wins every year really is.
Yeah, so you're going to get while the getting's good.
That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, that ain't bad. Hey, I kind of like it, man.
I get it.
Eight. He's right though. 8, we would still lose our minds.
Yeah, I know. Can you imagine if it's 10? Because it's then you're 8.
Knock it off.
No, because then you're not only is it double digits, but you're in the playoffs. Nebraska's not ready for that.
I'm Team Jason.